Polish F-16 crashes at AirSHOW. Polish F-16 fighter jet crashes in fireball during Radom AirSHOW rehearsal, killing veteran pilot. A tragic accident struck Poland's Air Force during preparations for the AirSHOW Radom 2025, when a Polish F-16 fighter jet plummeted to the ground and exploded into flames, killing its pilot instantly. Now let's get into the thick of it in today's AI podcast episode.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving deep into a recent, really tragic event. It unfolded during preparations for a major public air show. We're drawing on the initial reports, official statements you've shared with us. Our mission, really, for this deep dive is to get to the core insights from these sources. Understand not just what happened, but the immediate human impact, the national impact, too, of such an unforeseen incident. We'll try and look beyond the headlines, really grasp the layers here.
Exactly. And beyond the immediate shock, what's truly compelling, I think, is how these really high-stakes public events, they're designed for celebration, right? National pride.
Yeah.
And they can just instantly pivot, become these stark national touchstones. They trigger a kind of collective identity, collective grief. So we're going to explore how the immediate data points, those visceral eyewitness accounts, the solemn official tributes, how they all coalesce into a much larger national narrative, and what that tells us really about how societies process these kinds of events.
That's a crucial point, the layers. There are so many. So let's start by setting the scene for what happened. We want to bring you right into those moments leading up to the tragedy. Okay, so our sources confirm a Polish F-16 fighter jet crashed. This was during a rehearsal for the AirSHOW Radom 2025. It happened around 5:30 p.m. This is at Radom Airport, which is located just about 62 miles south of Warsaw in Poland. So importantly, not the main event itself, but during that crucial preparatory phase, which I think immediately brings the inherent risks into sharp focus, doesn't it?
Right. And if you look at the context, air shows are just.
Yeah.
They're meticulously choreographed, immense precision needed. And they often push the boundaries, of both pilot skill and the aircraft's performance. Rehearsals are, they're by their very nature, where these complex routines get perfected. It's where pilots push themselves, push their machines right to their operational limits sometimes, all to ensure a flawless display for the public. This incident just starkly highlights that constant dance with danger that these professionals navigate. And it raises a critical question for us, I think. What does it truly mean when something goes this wrong during a rehearsal? Not the main public display. Does that change how the public perceives it, maybe? Or how the risks are understood when it happens, sort of outside the direct public gaze?
That's a fascinating distinction because, while the immediate public exposure might be lower, for the pilot, the risks are identical, maybe even higher sometimes, during that push for perfection. But the eyewitness accounts, they are truly devastating. They paint such a vivid picture of those immediate moments of impact. I mean, just imagine being there. You're expecting this thrilling display, and then you see it turn to horror. Eyewitnesses described the jet performing what they called aerial maneuvers. So these would likely be, high G turns, maybe a low altitude pass, really pushing the F-16's renowned agility when suddenly it just appeared to lose control. They watched it spiral out of control and nosedive into the runway, just straight down. And the reports go on, describing how it skidded across the ground and erupted into a massive orange fireball, sending this thick plume of black smoke into the sky. The visual impact, just terrifying to imagine. Sources detail shocked spectators and residents, people screaming and holding their heads in horror as it happened right there.
Yeah, those graphic details, the fireball, the smoke plume, combined with that immediate horrified public reaction you mentioned, the screaming, holding heads, it really conveys the shockwave, doesn't it? That an event like this sends through a community. It's not just a statistic you read about or, a news headline. It's a moment seared into the collective memory of those who witnessed it. And that visceral reaction, it moves beyond just the technical aspects of the crash. It highlights the profound emotional, the psychological impact on everyone present. And then, of course, on the broader community, as the news spreads, it just instantaneously transforms a planned spectacle into a shared trauma, which then needs significant societal processing,
Absolutely. And as that immediate shock, maybe, started to settle just a bit, the devastating human cost became agonizingly clear. The Ministry of Defense confirmed the pilot's death, identified him as a veteran officer of the Polish army. Such a profound loss, not just for his family, obviously, but for the entire armed forces. Our sources mentioned it remains unclear whether he attempted to eject before impact or died instantly upon collision. And that detail, it really hits home, doesn't it? Thinking about the final harrowing moments of that pilot's life, this uncertainty, it just adds another layer of tragedy. Makes you wonder about the split-second decisions, the sheer speed of it all. What does that ambiguity tell us, do you think, about the nature of these incidents?
Well, that ambiguity, especially around ejection, it really highlights the extreme speeds, the forces involved, and very likely the very low altitude. Modern ejection systems, they're incredibly sophisticated, right? Designed to deploy in fractions of a second. But they still need a minimum altitude, a certain airspeed envelope to function effectively. So in a low altitude, high speed crash, particularly one involving like a sudden spiral or that nosedive described, there might simply not have been enough time, or maybe the parameters weren't right for the system to activate successfully, or even for the pilot to initiate the sequence. It forces us to acknowledge the tremendous courage involved, the split-second decisions required in this profession, and ultimately the sacrifice that can be demanded, even during what's meant to be a display of excellence. It also speaks volumes about the inherent risks military pilots face all the time, particularly those serving the public in these demonstration roles. They're not just flying machines, they're often ambassadors, right?
Well,
Of their nation's air power, putting their lives on the line for duty and for public display.
It truly emphasizes that personal sacrifice. Yeah. Thankfully, amidst this tragedy, a small mercy perhaps, was that no injuries were reported on the ground, which is, well, partly testament to safety protocols maybe, but also just a huge relief given the scale of that explosion. However, part of the runway was damaged by the impact and the fire. That's a significant logistical issue for an operational airport. Our sources detail how firefighters rushed in to extinguish the burning wreckage. Security teams quickly cordoned off the crash site. What does this swift, coordinated response tell us about the standard protocols for events like this? And maybe about Poland's emergency response setup.
That's an excellent point. The speed, the coordination of the emergency services, the security teams, it really indicates rigorous training and pre-established procedures, specifically for airshow incidents, which everyone knows are high-risk events. It's not just about managing the immediate danger, the fire, the wreckage. Securing the site is absolutely paramount for the subsequent crucial investigation. Every piece of debris, every detail of the impact zone, even scorch marks on the runway, it all becomes vital information. So this structured response, even in the chaos of a tragedy, it's testament to that rigorous training, the procedures they have in place, not just to mitigate further harm, but to methodically begin the process of understanding what went wrong. It suggests a well-practiced, probably quite resilient emergency infrastructure over there, capable of responding to complex aviation incidents.
Right. Shifting focus a bit now. The tragedy, unsurprisingly, drew immediate reactions from the very highest levels of the Polish government, which really reflects the national significance of this loss. Deputy Prime Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, he was among the first officials actually at the scene, offering his presence, his condolences. That speaks volumes about the gravity, doesn't it? And in a heartfelt tribute shared on X, he wrote, "In the F-16 plane crash, a Polish army pilot died, an officer who always served the fatherland with dedication and great courage. I pay tribute to his memory. To the family and loved ones, I offer my deepest condolences. This is a great loss for the Air Force and the entire Polish Army." These aren't just, formal statements. They feel like deeply personal expressions of grief from national leaders.
Exactly, and these official statements from the highest levels, they aren't just expressing grief. They serve a really critical function. They help shape a national response, they reassure the public, and they reinforce the value placed on military service and sacrifice within Polish society. They acknowledge that immense sacrifice made by the individual pilot, and they provide a sense of collective mourning, collective support for the family, and for the wider military community too. It's a rapid public consolidation of grief and national identity, which is particularly significant, I think, in a country like Poland, with its deep historical respect for its armed forces. These tributes quickly elevate the incident, don't they? From a local accident to a moment of national reflection.
Indeed. And it wasn't just the deputy prime minister. The outpouring of sorrow reached the highest office. Poland's president, Karol Nawrocki, also conveyed his deepest sympathies. He stated, "I have received very sad news about the F-16 plane crash in which a Polish pilot died. I extend my most sincere condolences to the family. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord." You can really hear the solemnity, the gravity in those words, reflecting not just a personal loss, but a loss felt right across the nation. It indicates a unified front, really, of mourning and respect.
And to put that in a slightly broader context, these messages from the highest offices in the country, they underscore how an event like this, it just transcends being a simple accident. It becomes a moment of profound national mourning. It affects collective morale, demonstrates solidarity within the nation, and importantly, it reaffirms those values placed on military service and sacrifice. In a geopolitical landscape where national defense is paramount, such public mourning by national leaders, it helps unify the country in a time of sadness. It provides a sense of shared purpose in honoring the fallen, while also perhaps projecting an image of stability and resilience both domestically and internationally. It reinforces the idea that an individual's service is an integral, valued part of the national identity, which is crucial, really, for military recruitment and ongoing public support.
In the immediate aftermath, there was also, of course, that crucial focus on understanding the cause. Minister Adam Sushapka confirmed the pilot's death, but didn't release further details initially. He cited an ongoing full inquiry into the cause of the crash being handled by the Polish military. This is standard procedure naturally, but it does mean that for now, the specifics of why this tragedy occurred, they remain unknown to the public. What does a full inquiry by the Polish military typically entail? What does that look like?
Well, a full military inquiry into an aviation incident like this, it's an incredibly thorough, painstaking process. It's not just about finding blame, you know? It's about understanding every single factor that contributed to the accident. Why? To prevent future occurrences. That's the goal. So investigators will examine everything, absolutely everything, from the black box data, that's the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, right through to the F-16's maintenance records. They'll look at the pilot's training, their health records, the weather conditions at the time, eyewitness testimonies, even metallurgical analysis of the wreckage itself. It's a huge, multidisciplinary effort. Often involves engineers, aviation experts, medical professionals, military strategists, the works. So the lack of immediate details, it's just a reflection of this careful, methodical process. Conclusions are only drawn after all available evidence has been meticulously gathered and analyzed. Rushing to judgment would be completely counterproductive. Counterproductive to the ultimate goal, which is enhancing safety protocols and preserving trust. In this process, it can often take many months, sometimes even years actually, before a final report is issued.
Right, a long road ahead for that investigation. And as a direct, immediate, and very visible consequence of the tragedy, the AirSHOW Radom 2025 itself has been canceled. It was scheduled for this weekend, expected to attract tens of thousands of visitors. And this isn't just some small local event, right? It's a major international public spectacle, one of the biggest in Poland, actually. So cancellation just highlights the profound, far-reaching impact of this single devastating incident.
Yeah, that's one striking aspect here, isn't it? That immediate and wide-ranging ripple effect. A single tragic incident doesn't just take a life. It halts a major public event on this scale. I mean, just consider the practical implications for a moment. It affects countless people who'd plan to attend, and not just the public, right? But international participants, display teams, vendors, media, everyone involved. Logistically, canceling an event of this magnitude, it involves unwinding months, maybe even years of planning, rerouting air traffic, notifying thousands of stakeholders. It's huge. And economically, there's a significant immediate impact on local businesses in Radom. Hotels, restaurants, transport services, they rely heavily on that influx of visitors for such a large event. And beyond the practicalities, there's also the symbolic weight, you know? An event designed to showcase national pride, military prowess, is canceled. That can have a psychological effect on public morale, too. It just underscores how interconnected these things are, how the shadow of tragedy can extend far beyond the immediate crash site, creating really significant social, economic, and even symbolic repercussions.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean? We've seen how a rehearsal for a thrilling air show, an event designed to inspire, to entertain, transformed in an instant into a devastating event, marked by that eyewitness horror we discussed, the profound loss of a veteran pilot whose life ended in these unclear, rapid circumstances. We saw heartfelt national tributes from the highest levels of government seeking to unify a grieving nation, and then the immediate widespread cancellation of a major public event with all its significant logistical and economic fallout. It's just a really sobering reminder, isn't it? Of the incredible precision required, the inherent risks involved, and the immense peril that exists in these aerial displays, even in their preparatory stages.
Exactly. And this brings to light, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to consider. While we celebrate the skill, the daring of military pilots in public displays, and we marvel at their precision, the capabilities of their machines, how often do we truly pause? Pause to reflect on the immense risks they undertake, even in seemingly routine preparations like this rehearsal. And what is the full cost, personal, national, societal, when those risks, despite every precaution, unfortunately, materialize? It kind of asks us to look beyond the spectacle, doesn't it? And acknowledge the unseen bravery, the unwavering commitment involved in serving in such a capacity, and those profound ripple effects that extend far beyond the immediate moment of tragedy.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And stay curious, because there's always more to learn.
Okay, one question for you. How can Air Forces balance showcasing aerial skills with ensuring pilot safety? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.